Scorpio, patience leading to understanding. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to this month's virtue practice. And this month we're bringing in a saint that's not very well known. In fact, I didn't get to know about this saint at all until we went to this sort of saint discovery journey as a part of your childhood. There were a lot of saints in the area you spent a lot of time in because it was close to Lindisfarne or Holy Island. And there's actually a lot of saints in that area. But this particular saint, Saint Ebba, is not very well known. I was always a little cautious of these saints that are can be bought their sainthood. And that would have been my feeling about her until you told me the story of what you experienced.
Yeah, well, I think it's quite possible her sainthood was bought because she was the sister of the King of Northumbria, Oswald. And that was something they used to do. But she, for whatever reason, which we can go into later, got out of the family, as it were, and went it alone down the path, spiritual path. But my connection really came invisibly and was a complete mystery because as a child, we used to have a cottage up in the coast called Beadnell, a place called Beadnell, and there was this place that I was drawn to as a child, and I'm talking about from the ages of 8 to 13. And I would often wander alone and go seek interesting places. And this is a place which I used to come to almost daily when we were up there. And there was a slight indentation in the ground, and I used to lie in that indentation. And I just felt, in a way, I felt like I was home. It was a very strange feeling. I'd spend time there gazing up at the clouds, whizzing past and listening to the sea crashing on the shore. But that was a place I would visit often. Now, it was only years later, whilst watching a TV show on a dig, a historical dig, that they were, in fact, I'd already moved to New Zealand, but they were digging at that very spot. And that's how I learned that was where Saint Ebba used to go in solitude to a little stone. That she built a little stone retreat there at that very, very spot. So later, obviously, that's when I started looking into her. But that still today, I mean, to me, that is the mystery of, the unseen mystery, the unseen strings that pull you in the discovery of the spiritual world.
Yeah, it was quite something to visit that place. We've had this relationship to saints that we have gone to the place because we know about them, like St. Francis. We've gone to visit Assisi. And then Llangrennog was a place we were drawn to.
Correct.
And found out later about a saint and how important that was. But we were still adults at that time, whereas here you were a very young child.
I was very young, but I was, in a way, pulled. It was a magnetic place for me. It was, and actually still is, because I brought you there. I showed you the place. And it was only, later in my 30s or 40s even that I actually realized that it was a place, that Saint Ebba used to be. And, I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, that whole coast for me, and especially having been brought up there, was full of mystery. Holy Island just up the way. It was a remarkable place to grow up, I think.
And I remember you saying that it was around the age of 12 where you decided you needed to put what you were experiencing into music, and it was that very area.
That's exactly correct, because probably about 500 meters from that very spot, I wrote my first song ever.
I know.
Gazing across Beadnell Bay to the ruins of Dunstanburgh Castle.
So obviously this is a much more personal encounter with this saint. I didn't feel the connection with Ebba, but certainly the area. It's so rich and filled with the paths that saints have walked. And I think, again, those people that, even if they had the so-called bought sainthood, continue to dedicate their life to the spiritual world, and how they could bring that into others' lives.
Well, I think Saint Ebba may well have come from a well-to-do family, being the daughter of the King of Northumbria. But she did put that aside, and like many people before her, saint-type people, like people coming from wealthy backgrounds, she turned her back on it to pursue her spirituality.
And I think that image, which some of us have to face in our lives, to kind of leave the family inheritance and what we might realise as a way of seeing and being and doing that doesn't actually belong to us, in order to engage in a spiritual path with a kind of new spiritual family. And as you said, even though that may have been a path for her in buying her sainthood, she actually still renounced the ways of the blood inheritance to find a new spiritual ground, which she fully lived out. Even though it said that she struggled with that, as most saints did, struggled with living to the expectation or the ideals that she herself held in what it meant to serve the spiritual world.
Yes, I do know. I mean, this is superficial knowledge. I mean, being drawn to that spot and lying in that spot, and in a way, you could say, it could have been the beginning of my meditative path, and that inquiry could have been easily, because it was roughly around that time that I started really inquiring into what the inner world was about. And but she ended her life. She founded a nunnery, I think in Coldingham, a priory in Coldingham, and stayed there to the end of her days, I believe.
Mm. So you've written many songs in that area, the first of which when you were 12 years old, but we're not going to be playing that one. We're going to...
Not today.
No.
But it's, interestingly enough, I've started remembering it really recently. But it's a place of great inspiration, certainly.
So this is one of the songs that you wrote whilst being there. Thank you. And then we let this beautiful piece of guitar music dissolve into the emptiness as we sit with the resounding of the experience. Then we enter into our own heart with our own capacity and build the experience of the virtue we're working with. And we build it so it feels that it's strong in us. And that activity then streams into our hands. And that activity streams into our feet. That activity streams above to our head. And we can feel that it hasn't left our heart, but only built more strongly through the streaming.
I am the one who shines through